Hello and welcome to another episode of the Able to Care podcast. Today we're looking at a really tough question for parents, carers and teachers. What happens when a child's neurodivergence is misunderstood as bad behaviour? And how does that push some of them towards exclusion and even the criminal justice system? My guest, Dr. Neil Alexander-Passe, a teacher, researcher and author who has spent decades listening to the lived experience of young people with dyslexia, ADHD, autism and school-based trauma. His work looks at the school-to-prison pipeline, but also at the other path, the one where, with the right support, those same young people become successful, confident and even entrepreneurial. If you care about a child who is struggling in school, this conversation is for you. So thank you so much, Neil, for joining us today. First question I'm jumping straight in with is there's a lot of parents out there who really are struggling to understand why is their neurodivergent child always in trouble at school? And from what your research and experience, what's really going on there?
Okay, so I am dyslexic myself, also with ADHD. I've been a Senko for many years, I suppose about nearly 10 years. So I've worked in primary and secondary school. So really what's going on is, in most cases, there's a lack of knowledge, awareness within the classroom and within the school. Teachers get very little SEN training, and with the large class numbers of 30 or more children per class, the teacher is teaching to that middle group. And therefore, unless you're within that middle group, you are that in some ways just not supported for your needs. There is very little planning for you. That if you're a bright kid and you will get bored, you will just run through the work, and then you will sit there just doing nothing or making trouble sometimes because you are a child. That if you're a young person like myself that struggled in schools, the teacher has no time for you. There is no planning. It is one person to the classroom, and they say, "Well, try your best." Or so what a child with say dyslexia does is they will learn to disappear within the room. You will sometimes hear comments like, where were you? Or the terms been, and the teacher is writing their report, and they have got nothing to write about the child. And they are not aware of them in the class. Their the homework isn't there, and they've got nothing to write about. So really, I would say the bottom line is the teacher doesn't see a child who is struggling. They will see a child who is naughty, because they will see that. So you will have three groups. You will have the naughty kids who are perceived to be causing trouble, and they will remove them out. But in real terms, these are children who are struggling to engage with the learning. The second are the quiet children who are, they near enough disappear. They're easy, according to the teacher, it's because they're quiet. No, they're easy because they have disengaged. And then you've got the middle of the road learners who are just plodding on and doing the work.
Mm. And is it that, so those two, what we might class as fringe groups, as far as either the naughty children or the quiet ones, that are often the ones that are kind of Well, I suppose it's the naughty kids that are the ones that are getting in trouble. The quiet kids are just not known about.
Yeah, I mean, I've written books about surviving school as a dyslexic teenager, and you're in a class, you're struggling, you can't do the work, and there's a test coming up. So what will you do? Or a written task. You either will find a way of wasting time, so you will sharpen your pencil and you will sharpen it and sharpen it and sharpen it until you waste enough time that there is no time left for the work, or you are the class clown and you play up to your mates, and therefore you are retaining your self-worth, because it's easier being seen as a funny kid who is pushed out of the class than a thick kid who isn't able to do things. So there is a huge amount of avoidance going on there.
Yeah, I'd like to come back to that later on, because I think that's a big area that's sometimes misunderstood, isn't it? As far as why don't, if a child is struggling, why don't they just put the hand up and say, "Hey, help me"? And I think that's so misunderstood. So we'll come back to that. One of the things you talk about within your work is kind of the emotional experience of having a learning difference. So from a lived experience, as well as obviously that professional point of view, for a child with dyslexia or ADHD, what does school often feel like from the inside?
Well, schools nowadays and a mainstream school, and there was a report released on Thursday or Friday last week about the Moss-Bourne School and obviously Academy I was sat in London. I've always related secondary schools as being more like prisons. Every door is locked. You are supervised at all time. You are. So in my last school, the toilets were locked, and a member of staff needed to unlock the toilet. School is a prison, near enough. It's somewhere that you are forced to be. There is no free choice there. You are forced by law to be there, and parents will send you there. And for a child who is dyslexic, every class is a chance to fail. Every time that they ask you to open up your book, you are struggling. Every time you are asked to write something, you are struggling. And spelling tests. It is a place of shame, and this is why lots are bullied. Every child knows the so-called thick child who is on the slow table. They will see the grades. That in my school days, there would be a test, and they would put up on the class window the grades. So it's a public shame. And so a lot develop, learned, and helplessness, because no matter how much they revise for a test, they will forget it within seconds. And parents are pulling out their hair, because in the evening before, they've spent hours getting all these spellings or facts learned, and then by the morning, it's gone. It's just gone. It isn't there, and the parent thinks, why bother? And it's similar to the teacher who will see a piece of written work that looks like a mess with all scribbles and words being changed and spellings sometimes being changed. And they think, well, just why bother? So if they're not able to write something decent, why should I bother marking it? And really, the child will soon learn to choose the easy words that they can spell, rather than the words spoken that they know. They will write less. They will protect themselves. It's very much about protection. A child with ADHD, so in most cases are not, and obviously diagnosed, it's a cage. You know, you're told to sit down, sit still, sit down, don't call out, don't move, don't fidget. I mean, so if you call out and want to share things, you are told off because you are not waiting your turn, and therefore, similar to a zoo, you let a caged lion out of you let a lion out of a cage, and they will just go wild sometimes and do silly things, and the child with ADHD will do those silly things without thinking. So impulsivity is a real cause of a problem, because they will say things without thought. They will say what is in their mind. Most people will think it, will filter it, will say it. These guys will think it and then say it. So they get in trouble with teachers. They get in trouble with their friends. They're really great at making friends because they are fun. However, they will lose friends really fast because they will say things to them.
Yeah, and I suppose that's again leads into that fringe group, isn't it? As far as, you know, what we perceive as the good kids and the bad kids. The good kids tend to be really good socially, whereas the bad kids, a fringe group, their friendships are based on, if you make me laugh, then we'll be friends. If you do what I'm willing or want you to do, then we're friends. Yeah.
The child with ADHD will do those things.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I was I dare you to set off the fire alarm. Yeah, okay, fine. Bang.
Yeah.
They're in trouble. Who did it? Oh, him.
Yeah.
You know? They will set them up to fail. It's similar to a child with autism who is told by their parents and adults to make friends, and they are making friends without thinking that they are being used, and they know that child will be easily wound up, even if it is the case of they come into a classroom and they move seats. You know, if there is a supply teacher, they know that child will go ballistic. So if they move seats or sit there, and the supply teacher will come in and say, "Okay, fine, settle down," and this child with autism say, "This is my seat. I must sit there." And the supply teacher will say, "Yeah, no, it's fine. Just sit there for now." And this child with autism has this huge sense of justice that they are being wronged. That child just won't learn for that class, and the built up thing is just going to cause trouble and meltdowns.
Yeah. Absolutely, and that's where there needs to be structure, isn't it? As I'm sure we'll talk about later. But so one of the things that you've written an awful lot about, and one of the areas of kind of expertise. So we hear the phrase, so school to prison pipeline, more and more now. In simple terms, what do you actually mean by that? And how does it specifically or especially apply for children with special educational needs and disabilities?
Okay, so the school to prison pipeline is basically what happens in the school can cause children to be disillusioned and fall out of learning and to fall in with gangs and crime, and that can lead them along a path to prison.
Okay, yeah, perfect description. And it's something that you found, is there higher rates and higher statistics as far as those in the prison service who've come from special educational needs backgrounds?
I mean, most in prison haven't been obviously diagnosed. The levels of special needs in prison is crazy and obviously high. The stats are that 65% of the prison population has a reading age of below 11 years old. It is like they finished primary school and stopped learning. There were many in prison who are not able to read and write, and no one's checked. So I mean, you've got people in prison who are not able to read, and everything in prison is form-based. You fill out an app, it is called, and you fill out an app for your food, to get a phone card, to get a job, to contact your lawyer or your family. Everything is app-based. And these guys can't read and write, so they are reliant on others. That in one case, I went to a prison, and this guy, he chooses the same thing to eat every day, every meal, because he knows the shape of the word sandwich, and therefore he will circle that for every meal. I mean, how sad is that? You can't. Everything is written based in print. I mean, the crazy thing is, how did the guy end up there? I mean, I said to my research, I look at the journey, and there is a legal phrase called the fitness to plead. And so along that is that if a person is obviously arrested, and the police give them a statement to read and to sign. This is them saying what has happened. So if you can't read and write, there's no way that you are able to read that, and therefore who knows what you were signing, and therefore. Yeah. A lot of people in prison shouldn't be there because they were not fit to plead, and they were thrown in prison because there was no one there standing up for them, and really they didn't want to say I can't read. To that, it's to admission that they are stupid. So yes. In real terms, it really is that they were let down by their school, and the kids with ADHD will do silly things. They will do things without thinking, because in the main they are not diagnosed, and they are trying to create naturally made dopamine by doing sport or different things to give them a buzz. Say that they were diagnosed and given the correct medication, they would have a safe level of dopamine every day, and therefore wouldn't need to do these silly things, because these silly things are what gets them into trouble and gets them sent out of school. So if you're a kid with ADHD who is doing a gun based or a topic in the school and class, and it is about the Tudor times and guns, and they have got their parents got an old gun from that time, they will bring that into the school. The school say, "Oh my gosh, they brought in a gun. He is removed. The police are called."
Yeah,
and therefore this leads them on that path to the school to prison pipeline. And we see that with knives being brought into the school. It isn't for a weapon; it's for a lesson. However, they will see it as a threat.
Yeah. Yeah, so that kind of leads me into this next question, really. So many children with ADHD, dyslexia or autism get labelled as disruptive or lazy, or those kind of terms thrown around. From your perspective, what are schools and adults often misreading in that behaviour?
They're misreading a child asking for help. I mean, there was a image I saw last week, the week on LinkedIn that really worked well for me. It was a child, the same child, one ranting to the teacher, and one with a sign saying I am struggling. It's the same thing. It's that they don't know how to ask for help without looking stupid in front of their peers. And so it really, a child is very easily labelled as trouble, rather than them sitting down and saying, okay, fine, this child is acting in this way. Why? No one asks why. They would just ask what. So the secondary side of it, ADHD could be the primary need. The secondary need is they are then manifesting, just doing silly things or perceived to be verbal abuse, because they have got their primary need hasn't been diagnosed. It hasn't been screened. It hasn't been diagnosed. It hasn't been supported, and therefore that they are trying. They're trying to ask for help in the wrong way.
There's a mirroring as well, I suppose, isn't there? That child so there's a child close to me in my world who has got some additional difficulties. So even though is in mid-teens, has got the reading age of a 6-year-old, and we finally managed to get her out of a mainstream school because, again, she was classed as disruptive and naughty, rather than the fact that, when we go to a restaurant, she struggles with the menu. And it's exactly the same thing as you mentioned. So she's learned certain words or get certain words. She's got a reading age of 6. So we do stuff and to help her. Like, we make adjustments. We use AI and stuff like that to all kind of help her be able to, when we go to a restaurant, we try and get the menu in advance. We go through it. We put it AI, because something like the term relish in a menu is quite a complicated word if you don't understand that concept. But tasty sauce may be something that she can understand. So we then use AI to make that simplified, so she can then choose her meal. She can have that independence. But in schools, they're not really doing that. So she kept getting put over and over again into isolation. And when you're talking about the school to prison pipeline, almost you're training her to accept prison life. Because you haven't done what you're supposed to be doing, we're going to put you in this limited environment where there's no engagement, reduced social connection, not going to build your skills in there, all going to be a case of, look, and you mentioned that term learned helplessness earlier, didn't you? So is this one of the things that leads to what we call school-based trauma?
Yeah, I mean, lots of kids are being labelled with emotionally based school avoidance, or EBSA. And really, the research suggests that kids who are unable to cope in the school, and therefore are perceived to be avoiding school, are doing it because it is the child who is struggling. But in real terms, the research is now showing that a vast majority of those are girls with just undiagnosed autism. And also it should be the label should be changed, because the actual label is argued to be school distress. It's what happens in the school which is forcing that child to not be there. It's not the child, it's not the parents. Very easy blaming the parent. It's what happens within the school. And the school, a secondary school, is a chaotic place. It's noisy, it's got crowds. I mean, moving from lesson to lesson is just chaotic in some places, and some of them are very harsh places to be. I mean, there are schools near me that where they have brought in a no talk rule. So if you're not allowed to talk whilst moving from class to class, and say you do, you are put in an isolation for the day. I mean, this is just harsh. This is something I saw in a prison last year. The same thing, the same sort of way of managing people. It isn't. It's not what we should be teaching our kids about life and society. I mean, school is a harsh place where you just try and survive. I mean, most of the kids are just trying to survive till they can leave. And the idea of going back to a school or learning to retrain, it just sends shivers down their spine, because it is returning them to a place of failure.
You mentioned, I think, as far as that sometimes that school-based trauma, though, actually shows up later as well in kind of later behaviour, in mental health, or even in contact with the criminal justice system. Could you mind expanding on that for me?
Yeah, I mean, my first book was on dyslexia and depression, and then from there I used the data to then write a book on dyslexia, parenthood, dating, dating, parenthood, and see something else, and really. Lots of dyslexics have long-term trauma from their schooling, and a lot can't face going in for their own children, because they will go in once. They will sit down in a primary school. They're sitting on those small chairs. They're seeing work pinned up. They are smelling a sickly floor cleaner. Everything there reminds them of a place of failure, and many never return for pantos or for various things. They will not step foot in that school, and they also struggle when they see that their own child is struggling, and they try to turn around to the teacher and say, "I have got dyslexia. And my child has similar difficulties. I think he should be supported." They say, "No, we know best. We are the professionals. We are the experts. He needs more time. Just give him a little bit more time. He's a bit immature. So it will come. Don't worry. It will come." And the parent is really struggling because they are angry, because it's the same thing. They know what is wrong. They know what their child needs, and they are being denied it. And this is where this huge anger comes. I mean, there was one parent that said, "I went into my child's school and." No. So they told me a story of their parents going into their school, and they saw the work being pinned up on the primary school, and they saw that their child's name was on someone else's work. And so they asked why. So they said, "This isn't Philip's work." And they turned around and said, "Well, Philip's work wasn't good enough to put up."
Yeah,
I mean, that is. I was speechless. I just could not believe that happened. And we've got there are more modern cases of autistic kids where the parent goes in to a panto and sees their child strapped into a wheelchair to the side of the stage. And when they ask why, well, this is the one way that they could take a part. I mean, to use physical restraints. I mean, this has been in the media and various things. It isn't just this, and this is a mainstream primary school.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, it isn't an isolated case.
Yeah,
you know, these so-called professionals are not. I mean, the crazy thing is a child with an EHCP.
Yep.
Is given adult support in the classroom.
Yeah.
It's a child with severe needs who will need expert support. There is a TA who will be with them, a learning support adult, who is near enough left with the child for that lesson. Because the teacher will see the child come in with the TA and think, okay, great, I will get on with the rest of the class. I'm relieved of that duty. However, you're giving the least qualified person the most the child with the most need, and also you're not giving them these support. You're not even giving them the differentiated or adapted lesson, or preparing them. They come in with the child and they sit down there and they're learning with the child. They are trying to make sense of what's going on and trying to teach the child. It's not for them to teach the child. And that a teacher, in most cases, will not even spend seconds with them.
And that's exactly what's happening in homework as well, isn't it? As you said, you described that beautifully there, that the TA is trying to learn at the same time as a child so the TA can work with the child. And there's so many parents out there that more than likely, there is a correlation that if the children have got dyslexia and ADHD and autism, there's a high chance of hereditary kind of difficulties. And therefore, you've got a parent who's then meant to be helping them with or they're going home with homework that they can't do themselves. So then the parents are meant to help them with it. So which means that the parents experiencing then re-traumatization, as you described, as far as, going through all that again,
this is another crucial point. Homework. Parents believe that the homework should be done. So in some cases, the parents do it for the child. And therefore, the parent thinks they're doing the best for the child by doing the work for them, or already correcting it, or making sure that all the work is done. That is, in real terms, the wrong thing to do. Because what it's showing is that, say they go to the school and say my child needs and obviously help, they're really struggling, they will turn around and say, look, the homework is perfect, it's amazing, with the right guidance they're able to do it. Okay, in the classroom, they're being lazy, they're messing about, they're not focusing. And the parent has no way of saying, yeah, but, set up with me. So in real terms, I always tell parents, you allow the child to spend the specified time, maybe a little bit more, that if it is a 30-minute piece of homework, you work, you allow them, say, 40 minutes, and then you will write a note on the bottom, my child worked for 40 minutes and this is it. It's because this way the homework and the schoolwork match. And therefore the teacher can see that it is the same thing. Yeah? And this is where you begin to form the evidence needed so that they can be supported more and for you to press for screening or support.